This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Welcome back, Puck Buddies. Another week of Top Shelf. God, I don't know what day it is, but this summer is so long. As a sports fan, this is the worst time of year.
Oh, by far.
Nothing. I mean,
by far.
We do have an NFL game tonight. That helps soothe the pain. It's kind of like a little shot of NyQuil when you're not feeling good. Yeah, it'll help a little bit, but hockey season is still... God, we got all of August. Camp starts September. So, I mean, we're less than 3 months away.
Yeah. If you're not a baseball fan, if you're a hardcore baseball fan, this is a decent time of year. But
we have the Tigers. This is a miserable time of year.
You know what? You can't argue with that.
Yeah, of course you can't. Facts.
Science bit.
So, I mean, there is a little bit of stuff going on that made me a little bit excited that I kind of want to bring up this week. It's, again, free agency's been open. We haven't really done too much. But something that really surprised me is that Shattenkirk was bought out from the Rangers, and he's got a couple years left on his contract, and they just bought him out and said, see ya. So Shattenkirk is now a free agent, and I would love to see Detroit make a run at him. I know for a fact they're not going to, but the way he plays defense, I've liked that guy. I hope that they made a run for him last year when in the big. I knew that we're just in a bad spot free agency wise, money wise. I know what the Yzerman's trying to do to rebuild this team, and it doesn't make any sense to go throwing around big contracts for one. I mean, they can't really,
especially with all the defensemen that they've added to the roster in the last 3 months.
Yeah, and the part of that is we still don't know if Cronwall's coming back. Part of me thinks that he's going to retire. He's had a great career in Detroit. He coined the term. He didn't, but his play coined the term being Cronwalled, for God's sakes. He's been awesome. It's that time. I mean, he's not what he was. I mean, he's got a knee that just will not heal.
I got Cronwalled one time, but it was at the county fair, and we don't want to talk about that.
Dude, yeah, beer doesn't count, sir.
Oh, okay.
Totally different kind of beer.
Different?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Totally different.
Sorry, I took a turn down the dark side there.
Just a couple names that still, the whole Braden Point situation, that he's turned down multiple contract offers from Tampa Bay. And then for some reason, I'm just not a fan of this. Tampa Bay signs Vasi for 8 years. I mean, that 8-year contract for a goalie. Now, granted, he was one of the best goalies in the league last year, but 8 years. So,
well, he's 25.
I get that.
And I can't see giving a contract like that to somebody who's 30.
There's just too many unknown variables when it comes to players.
Of course there is.
For Detroit, the biggest one that I'll always point to is Johan Franzen. I can't remember the contract that good old Kenny Boy gave him. It was like a 6 or 7 year deal. I think he played 1 year of it. He's been injured ever since, like concussions and you hope the guy's okay, but it's just an example of these long contracts that can really come back and bite you in the rear, and it's just nuts.
Well, there's two sides to those long-term contracts.
There is.
Number one is you're signing what is legitimately one of the top 3 goalies in the NHL right now.
Without a doubt.
At a price it's less than $9 million a year. Dombrowski just signed for $10 million a year, and you've got him for 8 years. So you won't be renegotiating as long as he stays healthy with a top-tier goalie for 8 years, and your cap's going to go up. The downside is he blows his knee out next year. Your cap is you're screwed.
It's not even that part. To me, it's like you can count probably on one hand the number of true superstars in the NHL. You've got Ovechkin, you've got Cindy Crosby, you've got that'll forever be her name. You've got so few.
McDavid,
Connor McJesus, they call him up there in Edmonton. Yep. I mean, and even he's still a kid. He's only a couple years in the league.
Yeah.
There are not that many players that play to that level for that long.
True.
And now you're looking at a goalie, the most mental position in hockey. You're saying you're going to count on this guy for the next 8 years at, let's just say, $9 million a year.
Yeah.
As a Detroit fan, I love it. Great. Give him more money, because now you have less money to sign Braden Point, who, let's face it, if Detroit could find a way to sign Braden Point, there was rumors of it, numerous websites a couple weeks ago when it first came out that he was turning down offers. Like, I think he turned down I could be wrong. Someone let me know. He turned down 3 offers
That is correct.
as an unrestricted free agent.
Yep.
So you very rarely do you see teams trade within their same division. It happens.
Very well.
But
I don't think there's going to be a trade there because Tampa's going to keep him around for at least one more year because he's under contract. They also traded Ryan Callahan, which got rid of $5.8 million
It did.
in cap.
You're right.
Which is probably their move that they're going to do. The problem with Detroit being able to get Braden Point right now is even if they make him an offer, there's compensation that comes back
Which
for that
is
UFA.
insane.
Which is if the guys if they offer him over $12 million a year, which they will not,
we can't.
you get 4 first-round draft picks.
Because I looked it up. Right now, and I want you to finish your point because credit to you because the research you did on that was awesome. Right now, as it stands, and again, this is according to one of the NHL stat sheets, websites, whatever that keeps track of all the numbers. As of right now in cap space, Detroit is sitting at about $5.28 million left for this year. Not much, but it's enough to sign someone serviceable for the next year. But go ahead because I want to get into that too.
The range that they're looking at, in my opinion, that Braden Point wants, I think he's looking for somewhere between $3 and $5 million a year. Because, I mean, he did score 90 points last year. That's a legitimate salary for a guy that does that. Now, he has only done that 1 year. So, again, are you banking on this guy continuing to play like that? And will he be able to maintain that pace on the Red Wings? I think what I saw was a first-round pick and a couple of seconds or a second and a third. The four first-round picks is if they pay him over $12 million a year.
Which isn't going to happen.
Which is not going to happen. No one's going to pay him that.
No.
But... if they trade, Tampa knows that they're going to be able to get at least this if they sign him. So they're not going to trade him right now for less than that to have the guy under contract. The worst case scenario that happens for the Lightning and best case for the Red Wings is that he plays for Tampa this year and then goes to Detroit next year when we have $20 million in cap space and there's no compensation to Tampa.
Oh, sir. It's higher than that.
Oh, that's right. It's 40, isn't it?
Next year, this is bonkers crazy. And you know what? I'll get to that in a second because there was a few other names that came up. I was just kind of curious because from what I had seen, unrestricted free agency period wasn't nuts like it normally is. There's still some names out there. One of the names that comes up, he is older, but I've always hated, was Dion Phaneuf. Hated him when he was in Toronto. He was just one of those guys, very Chelios-like, that starts stuff constantly. But I believe he went to Calgary. I can't believe he's not on a team right now.
I like it when you get like some bread and some peanut butter and some marshmallow Phaneuf, and you make a little sandwich out of it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
It's his name even annoyed the heck out of me. But I'll tell you what, he's wearing a Red Wing sweater, and all of a sudden I'm a big fan of his. I just like the way he plays, that gritty, in your face, always starting crap in the corner. Detroit's lack that for the better part of 4 or 5 years.
Not to cut you off, but to what you said about him.
Just did.
I'm sorry, sir. It won't happen again ever.
Go ahead.
Do you notice a trend, and we can use Phaneuf as an example, this year with the free agents? The older they are, the less interest there is. Have you noticed that? There's a lot of guys out there that are, I'm not going to say, on a 1 to 5 star system, you're talking maybe a 3 or a 3.5 star hockey player that are still sitting there going, nobody loves me anymore. Nobody wants me.
It's the fear of giving out that big contract, and because you're someone like that. Hey, and this name I'm not even going to mention in the wish list because I know it's not going to happen. Joe Thornton is still sitting without a contract from San Jose
because he probably wants 3 or 4 years, a 3 or 4 year contract.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
But still, that just tells you San Jose has not made it urgent to figure out how to sign Joe Thornton right away.
Maybe he wants a 6-year deal or a 4-year deal, and people just aren't willing to give it out. That's what I'm saying. I wonder if because of the guaranteed cap hit now, when you give somebody a contract, we've got the guy, the defenseman, isn't it, that we're still paying for? You've brought his name up 5 times. I forget.
Not Franzen.
No. The guy that you hated his contract. I'm sorry, I gotta start writing names down. And
been a lot of
we've been
contracts I can't
we're
stand.
still paying for him for like the last 2 years, and the guy hasn't even played a game. People, you can't compete on an annual basis.
Franzen is that player. He was
Okay.
a winger, but
Okay, I'm sorry, winger.
My
Yes.
point being is he got like a 6 or 7 year deal, and then I think year 2 into that deal, he started having horrible concussion problems, which is you don't want that on anybody.
No.
But that just goes to show you the risk of signing these players for so long can really handcuff you. And they're still, I think as of last year, they were still paying on that.
Yeah.
Now, the cap hit wasn't huge, but it's still a cap
But it
hit.
doesn't matter. If you make that mistake 3 or 4 times, next thing you know, you're paying $8 million a year for nothing.
Well, I mean, Holland was throwing away 4-year deals, it seemed like, for like it was a birthday party.
Because you had to give those 4-year deals out to get the guys to sign with you because nobody wants to play on a 1-year deal.
Crazy.
Right? So I'm sorry I cut you off. It'll never happen again.
No, yeah, it better not.
Oh, it's going to happen like 30 seconds.
I give it 20. But a name out
So, hey,
there.
Mike, did you see that?
Oh, shit. Unplug your friggin' microphone. There's another one out there that's still Pat Maroon, who plays left wing, that is just, again, they said his cap hit would be about $1.75 million. And he's probably going to end up back at St. Louis, but just another player that if you can get for 1.7 or even 2 for a year or two and help speed up this rebuild, which I think will come along a little quicker than everybody thinks. It's just, I don't know. I just wanted to get everyone else's opinion on that. Some of these names that are out there, what you would do, how much you would sign these guys for. Phaneuf, you give him a 1-year deal at like, I don't know, a couple million, throw in some performance bonuses, like if they make the playoffs or something like that. You're not tied to him long term, and it just very well could help the team. And I think that would be nice to see.
Yeah.
Especially for a player that, let's face it, we all hated Chelios until that day where they said, hey, guess who was a Red Wing? And now he was one of our favorite players.
Yeah,
because you knew what kind of player he was from seeing him all the time. And Phaneuf, we've seen plenty from playing in Toronto. And, God, I just could never stand that guy at all.
Understandable. There's still a lot of top name free agents out there. You're right, and we'll probably see a lot of those guys start signing deals as camps start coming around.
Plus, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is like kind of a dead period, but it will start to heat up. I'm guessing probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks or so, like right before we get into September, which is when camp starts. Yep. Everyone will start heading to Traverse City. Then you'll start having the developmental tournaments and all that stuff again in the pre-camp, and then that magical month of October will be here before we know it.
There's another mindset here too that some teams take and some teams don't, and it to me in pro sports it's kind of a 50-50 type thing. There's a lot of teams that like to go out and buy their championships. The Lakers, the Yankees, they just hey, you brought him up, I'm just going to pay for him. Right?
We did.
Yep. And
when Illich was allowed to,
that's right.
He didn't care. He wanted that championship.
That's right. You can't really do that in any sport except baseball anymore. But
don't tell Chris Illich
there
that.
could be there could be a mindset that Steve's got saying, "Hey, look, you know what? We weren't bottom of the barrel last year. We weren't really good. We were average. We were below average. We've gone out and got some pieces in place. Let's see what happens.
I'm excited.
Let's wait for this $40 million that we've got next year. Let's see because there's some big name free agents coming up next year. Brad Point being one of them.
Yeah, It's exciting because I was sitting down today at lunch and I was, looking up for, because we've been talking about the salary cap and players that we're hoping to be signed, at least me anyway. So next year you always keep hearing about next year and the cap. Like next year's really when Steve's got the blank check, like to go out and sign players and do some real damage in free agency and really put a solid team together. Next year, they will have 30. Now, this is as of today, not knowing what's going to happen, rest of free agency or whatever it may be. A lot of bad contracts come off the books next year. They are going to have $38 million in salary cap space next year.
They could have me for like 10 of that.
$38 million they are going to have available to spend on players. Again, according to the website I was looking at. That's a lot.
You know what that is? That's like an alcoholic on the first night of Mardi Gras. That is more than you could even hope for.
This is like giving me a black card at Blessed By.
Right? At Blessed By?
Blessed. Have a blessed day.
Have a Blessed By day. Beautiful.
$38 million is a lot of money.
Monstrous.
Now, the other upside, I see no downside to this whatsoever because you've got in my opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, the right guy in charge of that checkbook. I don't think long, frivolous contracts are going to be given out. Like you said, in the next episode, we'll talk about some of those names that are going to be open next July 1st, which is, to me, should be a holiday. To me, it kind of is a holiday. It's still fun, even though this year's kind of sucked. But that's a lot of money available for salary cap space. It's crazy.
Well, look at the top name free agents that went this year. Dombrowski, I think, was the biggest one, right?
Which one?
Free agents. Dombrowski, the goalie that went to Florida.
Oh, Bobrovsky.
Bobrovsky, I'm sorry.
I just call him Bob.
Bob, yeah, fair enough.
Sergei Bobrovsky.
Fair enough. Guys, I do like 18 things a day. I get numbers and letters mixed up. I apologize.
And he has trouble with the big words.
He was, what was it, 7 years?
7 year
for
deal.
$70 million.
And they drafted the best goalie in the draft.
Yeah, that was the biggest. Yeah, we still haven't even touched on that.
I can't even. I can't wrap my head around it.
So if you get right down to it, you can get 3 of those next year. And you can get somebody that's worth $8 million a year. And there's not a lot of guys in the NHL that make $8 million a year. For instance, Stamkos only makes 10. There are some that make a lot over 10. McDavid's one of them.
Right.
Cindy's one of them. But there's not a lot of 15, 16, 18. A lot of these guys are in that 7 to 11, the stars, $11 million range. That's 3 stars and some backup. Now, you'd be silly to put $38 million into 4 guys.
I'll say this. It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
It's just not going to happen.
But you can literally now, if you identify somebody that you want, you can outbid everybody else by $500,000 or $1 million because you've got it.
And, which he's done in the past, you can be creative with that.
Yeah.
Bonuses, incentives, stuff like that. But so that being said, the other thing I wanted to get into is the starting lineup, projected starting lineup. Now, I know that we have Koski that was signed. It was funny because in the projections for this year, it's got him basically as a question mark at defense with the defensive pairings that we have. So actually, I want to start on defense. The first line, they have Danny DeKeyser being paired with Mike Green. I love that combination. A lot of people are kind of down on Mike Green. Yes, he was hurt. I've liked Mike Green when he was playing in Washington. The guy's just tough. He does score. He's very good on a power play. DeKeyser we got when nobody thought we were going to get him when he was at Western Michigan, and they just ended up getting him. I think that's a great pairing. And then on the second line, we have Patrick Nemeth with Philip Hronek. Hronek's another one of those young guys that we've begged to get, or not really begged, but have hoping to see get more steady time up on the Red Wings instead of playing in Grand Rapids. This looks like it's going to be the year that he's on this team all year long. Nemeth, don't know too much about. I know he was in Colorado. He had some impressive numbers, just a steady defenseman. And then the third pairing, Trevor Daley / Jonathan Erickson and Dennis Cholowski. Big beard. That's the best way to call it. Big, grizzly. I mean, the guy's just cool. But they don't even have Oliver Koski on here because of the question mark of whether he's going to play with Detroit or if he's going to stay and play in one of his European leagues or anything like that. They just don't know. But all that'll get settled out in camp.
Of course.
So, I mean, there's some good names
here. They don't even have any of the rookies that they drafted on any of those lines.
No, because that is a giant question mark, and that's the thing about hockey, and I know I harped on this about it in the last episode with the draft. This is not the NFL draft. You don't know these kids. The only people that know these kids are the scouts that go watch these guys play all over the world all year long. So you have to take their word for it.
Agreed.
You can't... Nobody can legitimately sit here in front of me and argue that Moritz Seider was a bad pick. How do you know? Based on what? Why? Just because you haven't heard his name yet?
Yeah.
Because
no one can sit here and promise you that Jack Hughes is going to be a star.
Nope, you can't.
Because he's not played against NHL talent yet.
And a lot of the people were saying that the second pick, Kakko, is bigger, stronger, and more NHL ready.
Yeah.
Like, you just don't know.
You don't.
So... It'll be exciting to see.
Jamarcus Russell, anybody?
Yeah, Jamarcus. Anybody got any fur coats?
Yep. Purple drink.
Forwards, I was sitting there reading this today, and it really, I mean, I'm a homer as it is, but I'm excited for this season. I'm very excited to see what happens. I'm very excited to see how this plays out. Here's your projected starting forward lines. Dylan Larkin, center. Anthony Mantha and Bertuzzi on the wings. I can't wait to see if that's a line I can't wait to watch. Bertuzzi is just he's your typical Detroit blue-collar player. That kid is tough. He's not scared to get in the face of anybody. He made some plays, scored some goals. Fans love him. He's got the mullet rocking. I mean, who doesn't love a good mullet in hockey, right? Second line has Franz Nielsen playing center with Anthony Ciu and Taro Haros on the wing. Now, Haros is another player that's kind of primarily been in Grand Rapids, but sounds like he's going to get a chance this year. So, I mean, we are going to see some young kids play. The third line is where
one of those is a rookie, right? They've got him projected. Isn't Ciu? Did he get drafted this year?
Anthony Ciu? No. He's had a couple good years. We almost lost him last year. Trade rumors and all that stuff. But Anthony Ciu's got breakaway speed. He's lightning. He should have a big year this year. Freaking better have a good year this year. The third line is where it gets a little iffy. Filppula, who I do love. The signing of Filppula I thought was a great signing for what they spent. They didn't have to spend a ton to get him. He's been here before. He's a hard-working player. And then you have Glendening and Darren Helm on the wings. Glendening and Helm feel like they've been here for 5 years and have never had a breakout year. Helm has amazing speed, but still has yet to put a whole year together to where, like, okay, he's legit. Glendening played at the University of Michigan. Love the guy. He's tough. But again, they're going to get a chance to solidify that position to be on there. And then all the way down to line 4, Jacob De La Rose at center, and then Christopher N. and Justin Ablocator. Ablocator is now down to the 4th line being projected. Guess how much Ablocator makes a year?
$4 million.
Good guess. He makes $4 million a year to play on the 4th line. Again, another example of a bad contract Holland gave out that he shouldn't have. But he did. So it's going to happen. And again, they just, there's so many question marks. The young kids, the Grand Rapids, there's players on there that could make this team next year. Next episode, we'll actually get into a couple of those Grand Rapids players that are kind of listed as players to watch. So we'll get into that next week when we see. And we'll just kind of go from there. Hopefully something happens. We're still 2 months away. It's killing me.
Yeah, but
killing me.
We got football. At least we have football. It's not hockey.
You're right. Nothing is. But goaltending, again, Jimmy Howard, Jonathan Bernier. My hope is that Bernier plays very well and pushes Howard to get back to the form that he was at when he went to the All-Star game. Nobody can say that Howard's a garbage goalie.
No.
The problem with Howard is consistency. Being able to put together a full year of that's the guy. Try to take me off the ice. And that's what we need to see this year because you're not going to go out and sign another goalie, I don't think, unless they can pull off some crazy trade for someone else who's a solidified, can come in here, take the reins and say, I am the start. That's the starting goalie. Well, that's all we can hope for.
I've said it before. I'll say it again.
Say it.
Your goalie is only as good as your defense and your offense. If your offense is constantly turning over the pucks and allowing breakaways, if your defense can't skate, if they can't stop the other offense, unless you're Bennington, some of those are going to get by you.
And even that, you can't name the last time that's ever happened.
Ever.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's almost movie worthy. The run that team made.
I can't get over the number of pucks that bounced off of Bennington, and you watch a goalie, and lots of times they're trying to glove it, or they're slapping it away. But when that puck's coming at them in the air, and they want to stop it, they want to catch it because they don't want to allow that second chance.
Rebounds are killer.
I can't tell you how many pucks bounced off of this guy because of the fire coming off of that stick, and none of them went in.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because Boston didn't know how to shoot. It was because this guy was in front of the puck.
Right place, right time.
Yeah, and you know what? His defense did not help him out a lot in that series. They really didn't. No,
that was, that's a perfect example. And, I think back to the crazy year in 2002 when we had all those Hall of Famers. We had Dominik Hasek in goal. That dude plays goalie like he's having a seizure.
Yeah.
Played goalie. He's retired now, unfortunately. But when in his heyday, when he was in his prime,
what a weird stance he had.
He got labeled for being weird and unorthodox and just a goofball. And his this cracks me up. His pregame ceremony, okay? He would go on the ice by himself and visualize a full game. And in his mind, he's playing a full game making saves, seeing plays, anticipating certain shots. Like, he would go through this whole routine before every game. Nut job. Goalies are nut jobs. They're, almost like pitchers, just tougher. But we need that number one guy in goal, and hopefully, I don't dislike Jimmy Howard. Like I said, I just want him to get back to that consistent form to where he's your number one guy, and he's making it very, very hard for you to not start him.
You know who has a glut of goalies right now? Is Tampa. They got 4 on the roster. Yeah, they got 4 on the roster, and they just signed one for 8 years. They might be some decent trade bait there. Who knows?
Well, there could be.
Are they worth having? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's tough to say, especially if you got a team that's rolling that many deep. Who out of that is legit?
But that blows my mind though, because here we went from one of the best GMs in hockey. The Lightning go from one of the best GMs to the guy there now. You've got Vasilevsky. Why are you trading for goalies?
It's probably to stock the farm system in Syracuse. It's probably just to get some guys down there so they can develop and looking down the pipe. To see what happens.
8 years from now?
8 years from now, because, there's so many players that stay at that level for 8 years.
Look, Carl, I want you to understand something. You're my guy. We love you.
Yeah.
And in 8 years, when you're 46 years old, you're going to take over for Vasi.
It's just nuts. Right now, Detroit's sitting with 3 goalies. They're 3 legitimate goalie choices. It's obviously Howard, it's Bernier, and then the guy that we just traded for, Calvin Picard. For the year, we are just going to call him Captain Picard.
Engage.
Make it so.
Right?
I'm sorry. His last name's Picard. We're calling him Captain.
You have to.
Absolutely.
It's a hockey law.
You're hoping one of them emerges as the number one guy. It's a long way to camp. We'll see what happens. I can't wait for camp to start. I can't wait to be able to start talking about actual hockey every single week. But that's where we're at for this week. We've got, like I said, 2 more months.
We'll get there, buddy.
Football will help pass the time. All of us,
Just remember, when you look back at the sand, there's only one set of footprints. It was there that I carried you.
Yeah, and that was hockey. So let's just all hope the Lions can get us through for the next couple months and not rip our hearts out till at least, I don't know, what would you say, November, December?
Let's hope it's November or December. Let's hope that we're not in the middle of September burning our clothes again.
No, because hockey starts in October, and usually December, the Lions go full Temple of Doom, and they just stick their hand in your heart, rip it out, show it to you while it's beaten, and then it's game over. But then we still got the last third of the hockey season to go. So
fair enough.
We'll see. So that'll do it for this week. If you got any, if you think I'm wrong, think I'm nuts, think I'm crazy, if you got any suggestions
yes.
That's a given. Who do you think? What do you want? Who's out there that you think they should do? Do you think should pick, shouldn't pick? Am I crazy? Am I nuts? Am I wrong? You can get with me on Twitter at Putty2773 or at our Twitter, which is at Top Shelf DSP. Greg, you're also on Twitter
at GBishop72.
And guess what? We also have our own other podcast.
Yes, we do.
And for the record, Adam loves it.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, how could you not?
If I'm going to throw any credential out there, it's hey, if Adam loves it, you'll love it.
Yeah. Give us a listen. Top 5 for fighting. That one's just more of a casual, fun type thing. We just talk about things that we like to talk about, make jokes, and sometimes we call back telemarketers. And we also have a small 20, 25-minute football podcast for the football season that you can download too. Fantasy, college, pro, not just really based around any one team. It's kind of everything. So top 5 for fighting.com.
It's a lot of fun. Short backstory on that. Greg and I sat next to each other at a job about 6 years ago. Seems like forever ago, and we always used to get in trouble for talking, and Greg's like, we should do a podcast about this. And here we are, 6 years later.
Think about what you just said.
Finally.
We got in trouble at work for talking.
Right.
Yeah.
And now,
while we were maintaining the highest numbers in the division.
And now we do it for fun every week. So check us out. You'll like it. Adam does.
Yeah, I think you will. If you get to try once, it's fun. It's a good time. But thank you again for listening.
Yep. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks for talking Wings. If you got something Wings related you want to talk to, or hopes and dreams or wishes, or if you're just not anticipating anything good happening at all, tell us. Let's talk about it, guys. And till next episode, go Wings.
Go Wings.